Hello and welcome to How to Play Teen Patti, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com. This video will cover how to play the card game Teen Patti. The video will start with the general concepts and gameplay, and then get into more of the details for the game. The game is played with 4 to 7 players. To play, you will need a 52 card deck and something to make bets with, such as poker chips. Before the cards are dealt, each player will make an ante. The ante for this example is 1 chip. Then each player is dealt 3 cards, 1 card at a time. The object of the game is to win the middle pot by being the only player to not fold their hand, or by having the highest ranking hand at the end of a round. The hands are ranked, with the best being a trio of 3 cards in the same rank. The best trio is 3 aces, then 3 kings, down to 3 twos. The next best hand is a straight flush, 3 cards in sequence and in the same suit. The best straight flush is ace 2 3 in the same suit, then ace king queen. 4 3 2 is the lowest ranking straight flush. 2 ace king is not a valid straight. Next comes a straight, 3 cards in sequence. The suits do not matter. Ace 2 3 is the best straight, then ace king queen, and so on down to 4 3 2. Next, a flush, 3 cards in the same suit. If players tie with a flush, they will compare card ranks, aces being the highest, then kings down to the twos being the lowest. Next, a pair, 2 cards in the same rank. If players tie with a pair, they will compare card ranks. First the rank of their pair, if still a tie, then the rank of the third card. The final hand is high card when no player has a previously mentioned hand. With multiple high card hands, compare the highest card first, then the second highest, then the lowest to determine the winner. Players can play their hand in one of 2 ways, seen or blind. After the deal, players can look at their 3 cards and play the hand as seen, or the player can leave their cards face down and play the hand blind. A player that starts the round playing blind can choose to look at their cards later in a round and start playing as seen. For this example, I have placed a chip on the player's cards who are playing blind. Player 2 and player 4 are currently playing blind. All other players are playing seen. The player left of the dealer is first to make a bet or fold. To stay in the round, a player must bet the current stake at minimum, or can bet double the current stake at maximum. The current stake starts at the amount of an ante. For this game, the current stake is 1 chip. To stay in the round, a seen player must bet double the current stake at minimum, or 4 times the current stake at maximum. If a player does not want to bet to stay in the round, the player can fold. Player 2 is playing blind and will bet the current stake of 1 to stay in the round. Play moves left to player 3. Player 3 is playing seen and will bet double the current stake of 2 chips to stay in the hand. Play moves to player 4, who is playing blind. Player 4 will bet the current stake of 1 chip to stay in the hand. Play moves to player 5. Player 5 decides to fold and is out of the round. Play moves to player 1, who also decides to fold and be out of this round. Play returns to player 2. Betting must continue until only 2 players remain in the round. There are currently still 3 players in this round. Player 2 is still playing blind and will bet the current stake of 1 chip to stay in the round. Play moves to player 3, who will bet the maximum of 4 chips. When a seen player raises the bet, the current stake is raised to half the amount of the seen player's bet. The current stake is now 2. Play moves to player 4. Player 4 decides to look at their cards and is no longer playing blind. Player 4 now has a minimum bet of double the current stake. Player 4 bets 4 chips. Play moves to player 2. Player 2 decides to look at their cards and is no longer playing blind. Player 2 decides to fold and is out of this round. With 2 seen players now left, a player can call for a show by betting double the current stake. Player 3 bets double the current stake and calls for a show. After a show is called for, both players show their cards. The player with the higher ranking hand wins the middle pot. Player 4's pair of 9s outranks player 3's pair of 6s to win this round. The cards are shuffled and a new hand is dealt by player 2. Before betting, the current stake is equal to the amount of an ante. When a blind player makes a bet, the current stakes becomes the amount bet by the blind player. For example, if a blind player bets 1, the current stake is 1. When a seen player makes a bet, the current stake becomes half the amount bet by the seen player. For example, if a seen player bets 2, the current stake is 1. If all but one player folds, the one player that didn't fold wins the middle pot. The final show of cards at the end of a round can only be done if all but 2 players have dropped out. If you are a blind player, the cost to show is the current stake paid into the pot. If you are a seen player and the other player is blind, you are not allowed to call for a show. The seen player can only continue betting or drop out. If both players are seen, either player can pay twice the current stake for a show. After a show, if the hands are equal, the player who did not pay for the show wins the pot. When there are more than 2 players still in a round, and all players are seen, a side show can be requested. To do this, immediately after betting the minimum amount, a player can ask the player who bet immediately before them for a side show. The asked player can accept or refuse the side show. If accepted, the 2 players privately compare their cards. The player with the lower ranking hand must fold. If the hands are equal, the player who asked for the side show must fold. If the side show request is refused, betting will continue as usual. That wraps up how to play Teen Patti. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and find more game tutorials by subscribing to the channel Gather Together Games. Thanks for watching!